Hi, Bill Vales here again with another edition of Littleton Rocks. And I'm here today with Anita Honkonen. Anita, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
So we just did our first show, which we scratched the surface a little bit on rocks.
Right.
And a little bit about plate tectonics. And now we're going to talk about minerals. And
Right.
it was interesting that you mentioned that it's easier to talk about minerals than it is rocks.
Right.
So go ahead, start talking
Right.
about minerals.
So, I mean, in some ways rocks are easy because you have three categories, right? But there's so many blendings and, you know, when does one type end and one start? Minerals are very clear cut. I think most people, I think we talked a little bit about kids and mica, right?
Yes.
Kids like shiny things. Mica's one thing, all right? Quartz. This happens to be a piece of quartz that I collected when I was, let me see, how's that? That looks better.
Oh, that looks good.
When I was in Arkansas at Mount Ida. So if you're traveling and you're there, you could actually go collecting. It's a pay place, right? But there's a lot of stuff. This is also quartz. This is what's called Herkimer Diamond. It is not a diamond. It's just beautiful quartz crystals. This is from New York. Again, someplace where you could go collect, right? But the reason I put those up there is quartz is one of the most common minerals in the crust. It's very simple. Silicon dioxide. One silicon atom to two oxygens, always, right? And that's what makes minerals somewhat easy, is that they are very consistent. If it's not SiO2, it is not quartz, right? There are different varieties of quartz, right? We have amethyst, citrine. Yeah, you have this lovely piece of smoky quartz. Can we... here. This is from Conway, New Hampshire, right?
Moat Mountain.
Moat Mountain, well known for its quartz crystals, and you can see the brownish color in there. Beautiful crystal, all right? All the same stuff, SiO2, right? Sometimes it might have a little bit of something else in it. It's like putting green food coloring into cake for St. Patrick's Day. You know, it's still the same cake mix. You just got like a little drop of something else in there, and it will change the color. But quartz has a beautiful like pencil shape to it, hexagonal crystal with a point on it.
So I think that's important to talk about, that these are not cut.
No.
Okay. This is the...
natural form.
That's a natural form.
Right.
Can you talk about that a little?
And so when we're looking at this, if you ever go to like a mineral show, and there are several of them around here, Worcester, right at the end of November, has a really nice show.
That's a good one.
That there are people that will sell quartz crystals because clearly with new age things, quartz is, so I suppose, I think focuses the mind or thoughts or something.
Boy, I need a lot of that.
Well, I know, right? But sometimes what they sell isn't actually quartz, or it's been modified to look better, because not only do you have this nice hexagonal shape to it with the point, but if you, I don't know if we can see this in the camera at all, but if we look at, there it is. There.
Oh, look at that.
On this side, you can see almost little striations.
Yes.
These are growth lines in there. Quartz crystals should have those. If you see a beautiful quartz crystal at a show and it's perfectly smooth, it's been modified. Either been polished down to look better, or maybe it's even just glass. But of course, quartz is what glass comes from. Melt this down, do the glass making process, and you get glass out of there. Hardness is 7. You may remember Mohs scale of hardness from...
We have a cheat sheet here.
Yeah, where did I put this sheet?
But I think you have it committed to memory.
7 it's the hardest common mineral, right?
Okay.
We'll scratch glass, right? So, you know,
Okay,
this
that
whole
will
thing about
scratch
with
glass.
glass, you know, oh, you know, only you know, writes in the window with a diamond. Well, you can do that with a piece of quartz too. Not as easy. Those are all characteristics of this. If it breaks in, I don't see any really good break surfaces in this. It breaks in a very characteristic, almost scoop shape conchoidal fracture, which is what you see when you chip the edge of your glass.
Yep.
You know, really easy. I shouldn't say really easy, but it's easy enough to identify. So if you're out collecting, one of the things you sometimes want to do is see how hard a mineral is. So I would typically, you can carry a whole set of low scale of hardness mineral things. But you carry, if you have a penny, a nail, your fingernails, you're doing pretty good for identifying. So I know I can't scratch this with my fingernails, so it's harder than a 2.5. If I had a little nail or a pen knife, it would not scratch this either. So I know it would be harder than like a 5.5 or a 6. So that would help me out identifying.
But here's
these
something
things.
you can scratch.
Yeah.
Just-
Yeah, you should be able to scratch that. Whoops, sorry.
No, that's
is that
fine.
okay, Bill?
I've got plenty of that.
So if you can zoom in on this, right, right there, I did a nice scratch right across Bill's rock here, and this is actually a rock.
This is a rock.
Rock.
It's a metamorphic rock. I read about that last night, which I was surprised because I was expecting to hear
sedimentary,
but it's been cooked to
Cooked
a degree.
bit, but it's still really soft. Right?
Yes.
This is a chalk. It's a calcium carbonate, CaCl3, but I can scratch this so it's softer than a 2.5, which is what most fingernails are. Some people's fingernails are a little harder than others, but it's about that. And that's a useful tool because when you're out, you want to make an educated guess as to what you might be looking at. So particularly if it was a piece of amethyst, which is purple quartz, or a piece of fluorite, which can be purple also. Amethyst is 7 on the hardness scale, fluorite is 4.
Okay.
You know, so if you got a little nail, you scratch it.
Put a little scratch.
Yeah, if it scratches, you're looking at fluorite, which is a beautiful mineral too, right? If it doesn't scratch, you've got amethyst. Right?
So you don't necessarily need a scratch test kit
No.
similar to this.
Let me see what you got.
Okay.
You got a portable one? Oh, this is great.
Yeah, so we
I
have.
love this.
But it's cooler to just have a nail and a penny and a fingernail.
Yeah, and some people literally would carry a little piece of glass with them too.
But here's what.
Yeah, this is great. So each of the points in these has a different value. So I assume it's written on here somewhere. And so this is a, does that say 4? Oh God, I need better
I
glasses.
think so. Where's my Here's my glass.
This is why I retired, right? No.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, go by the colors. Well, you'd have to figure out
You
the
know what the
coding
colors,
first.
this is your set,
Yeah.
yeah. But,
Okay.
you know, they sell
3.
various sets of these.
9.
Yeah,
No, 8, 9.
yeah.
Yeah.
And really, the odds of, you know, if it's harder than a 9, it's a diamond, okay? Diamonds are much harder than anything else. And that's actually one of the, I would say, problems with most scale is it's not a steady increment like climbing a step ladder where all the
Yes.
steps are the same. There's some that are much harder than others, but it gives you a standard to go by.
This is good to have in the lab.
Yes.
It's a little awkward to carry
And
around.
I have somewhere, and I haven't used it in years, a small, just similar to this, but they're smaller sticks, and it's actually just in a little envelope.
Oh, I
So that
see.
you could carry it with you.
Yeah, that would be
if
handier.
you needed to. But I, most of the time, you know, when I go collecting, as you do too, you have your rock hammer, all right? So that's about
Yeah.
6 too, you know, also. So, you know, you could take, you know, this lovely piece of rose quartz here. You
Oh,
had no
another
idea.
quartz.
Yeah, another quartz,
There's
rose
another
quartz, beautiful stuff.
That was from Barrel Mountain.
Barrel Mountain.
Yep.
You know, take a rock hammer and try to scratch it a little bit, and it shouldn't scratch, right? The other thing is take this and see if you could scratch the hammer, and it
The
should
hammer with
scratch
that.
the hammer, yes. Right? one thing to be aware of with some of these things.
I have a hammer.
Do you have a hammer?
I have a hammer.
There you go. Let's see if we're right.
Let's see.
Amethyst, which I mentioned, purple quartz, people should be careful if they purchase it or if they collect it. It's purple because it has a little bit of iron in it. And the valence, don't want to get into the chemistry really of it, of the iron that's in the amethyst is really susceptible to sunlight. So that if you have amethyst and you leave it in the sunlight, it will start to fade. So not a problem usually for jewelry, but some people will collect it and leave it on the windowsill because it's really pretty. And you're going to notice in a few years, it doesn't look quite as purple as it did before.
I see.
So, yeah.
This is a little bit of persuasion that we may use.
Oh my God, that's a, yes.
When we collect.
Right. And I tend to use what's called a mason hammer. It looks like a hammer with a chisel on the end of it.
Yeah, I have one with a point and
Yes,
also one
and
with a
I have
chisel.
one with the point too, and I hardly ever use it because
Yeah.
I like the chisel because I could scrape
Yeah.
with it, clear off debris. Sometimes use this
But
as
this
a
I
chisel
use
point
with
too.
this.
Yeah, right, and that's really gonna. Let me see that one. I've never tried this with a chisel.
Okay, here we go. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, and you can actually hear it digging in, right?
She's wrecking
Yeah.
my chisel.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
But I
But-
figure you're gonna wreck it anyways when
Right.
you go here smashing things.
But that was doing a scratch
Scratch
test.
test.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was doing the scratch test.
And that will tell you, if it scratches that, it's going to be harder than a 6.
Very
right?
good.
And around here, if you're getting harder than a 6, well, the feldspars are 6, right? Quartz is 7, beryls will be 8, right? And clearly, the harder something is, the more it will scratch something.
The more it
okay,
will scratch.
so if it really annihilated something, it's not impossible to find 9s around here. 9 is is a corundum.
That would be like a ruby.
Ruby, sapphires.
Yep.
And you do find some of that, there's the Chester Emery mines out in Chester, Mass, right? And there's corundum in there, because there used to be mined for grit, right? Things
Sure.
that you could
Sure. Yeah.
polish things
Now-
with or grind things with.
Now,
And other quartz.
that's another quartz,
Yes. And because, I'm going to tell you that, because the beautiful hexagonal crystals with the point on it, right? We could do a hardness test. I don't want to do that with this. I just know it is, right? Beautiful. Citrine. Yeah.
Citrine.
Yeah, I would say that, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
So if you find that like that, you might be turned away.
Yeah, right.
But when you dig a little more and
Yep.
you wind up with something like that.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing what you can.
You know.
This is not quartz, but since you're talking about finding things that you're not expecting, all right, this is the state gemstone of Massachusetts. It's rhodonite. So impressive, isn't it? Until you whack it and break it open, and you find this
Wow.
lovely bubblegum pink on the inside, right? This is from the Betts manganese mine. The black is actually a weathering product. When this is exposed to the air and to water, right, it will turn black. Right? So when you break it open, you expose a nice fresh surface. You get this lovely pink
So this is the state
gemstone.
gemstone.
Yes.
Okay.
We don't have a lot of gemstones around here. Beryl, but this is our same stuff, a little bit polished here. And so sometimes you can find these, particularly if you're doing jewelry, right? People looking for where you have the black running up into it, right? Because you can get these lovely little patterns sometimes forming. This is another little piece of it that hasn't been polished yet, but you can see where you get that pattern, a pattern coming out of where I want to go here like that, right? But, there you go. Who would know? You see this black lump sitting there, and you don't know until you take that sledgehammer and whack it.
Right. So this kind of leads us into, so this is the state gemstone.
Gemstone.
And this leads us into one of many hobbies that you have. Why don't you finish this?
Finish this up?
Finish this gradation of things that you have.
So I do.
This was
excuse me,
in the
I gotta bring
raw
down for 1
form.
second. Like I've said in the last show, am retired now from teaching. When I joined the Neshoba Valley Mineralogical Society, our club,
Yeah.
I did it because I belonged to a bunch of earth science teachers that wanted to go collecting. So I contacted the club, and one of the club members took us around to
Yeah.
locations, and then I stuck with the club, right?
Yeah.
And started doing collecting, which I really hadn't done, even though I, did earth sciences and geology. I'm much more of a rock head, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Than minerals, right?
Yeah,
And,
I can relate to that
Right.
because I'm a rockhead myself.
Yeah. So I've learned a lot about minerals, and I collected them, and then it was sort of like, well, what am I going to do with them?
Yeah.
And people who even go collecting rocks on the beach, what do you do with them? Right? So when I retired, I learned how to do cabbing, which is basically lapidary work where you're taking a rock like this, right? Cutting it open, making slabs like this, right? And then polishing them so that you end up with something like this, right? And let me see, let me prop that up a little bit on there. Is that gonna work?
Yeah.
And I happen to like this one a lot because it has really good pattern in it, right? But then my problem became, well, now what do I do with my cabs, right? And some people actually sell them, and as people know, online you can buy all kinds of things.
Yep.
People have their little online stores, and some people sell the cabs, right? And I decided I'm going to try doing a little bit of silversmithing, see if I can make some jewelry out of it. Right?
Well, you got all this free
so
time.
I've
You're
got
not
all this free
teaching.
time. Oh my God, I'm so busy. But this is a small pendant, or a pendant that I made of the rhodonite, mounted in sterling silver. Right? There you can see a little bit of the stone on the back. Right? And so, that's one example of from rough to this.
Yeah.
I don't always work that way. A lot of my things I purchase. Let's give you some examples. This is a slab that I purchased at a show. Right? It's a beautiful agate. Look at that. Oh, look at the pattern in that thing.
Wow.
Someday I'm going to do something right in this, where is it? This area here, because you have this beautiful vug, which is the hole with crystals in it. Haven't quite decided, but what I do first is cut something out of this, right? Mount it on a stick, and then I have a lapidary machine, which is basically like sandpaper for stones, right? Different grits, and after I've cut this, I've got a little saw. I actually have cut things with a tile cutting saw.
Really?
Because it's a diamond saw, right? The only disadvantage of that is the blades are pretty wide, so you lose material, right? And then I'll just keep polishing and polishing and polishing until I get it to the shine that I want. And so this is also the same thing, and this piece has been finished. Oops, sorry. Something like that, right? And then I wait for inspiration to see how I want to set it.
Yeah.
So sometimes I've done things wire wrapping. This is a piece of quartz, right, that I wire wrapped. I polished the stone, cut the stone, polished the stone, and then wire wrapped it. I've tried to do, I don't want to do that one. There's some stones, I love this one. This is a piece of agate also, right, that I had wire wrapped, and I didn't like it, so I ripped the wire wrapping off of it, and I'm still trying to figure out how I want to actually set it. There are different levels. People may look at this and say, I don't want to do all of that. One of our club members, he does lapidary stuff too, does a little different, and this is one of his pieces, right? And we can see here he has a different style, right, to it. We have another friend in the club that has taken stones, and if you go to a show, right, or other places, you can find little loose, shiny stones like this. This is a piece of a snowflake obsidian, okay? And all you have to do is get these little caps, silver cap, right, and glue it on, right?
Wow.
And sometimes you can find those at AC Moore or Michael's, or you can easily find them online. And it's a really easy way of taking a stone that you find or mineral that you find. Doesn't have to be nice and smooth like this. Can be a shell, right? And make a little piece of jewelry out of it.
So that can kickstart a whole hobby and career.
It can, yeah.
Wow.
And people have different interests. Something, I don't know if I want to show this, I didn't bring it over. Right? You know, there are all kinds of things you can do with this that, you know, inspire you. What's that?
Let's show the another rough form, starting with the, I always pronounce this wrong, chiastolite?
Chiastolite.
Chiastolite.
Yeah.
Okay. Which is found in Lancaster.
Yep. Let's get these all off here.
Let's remove that.
That's the problem with hobbies, though, isn't it? It's like
Yeah.
you do it. What do you do with the stuff?
I thought you always just left them in buckets.
Well, there's that too. I mean, I have more buckets laying around with things, you know, and then when I really want to find it, it's like, where did I put it? You know.
So this is chiastolite, which is found in Lancaster, Mass, and I believe this is a metamorphic?
Yes.
Metamorphic rock. Okay.
Definitely.
And this is how it presents itself.
Yeah.
But it has these real neat crosses on it, which you can
Right there, yeah.
see right here.
Yeah.
And that's the mineral structure,
Right.
okay?
Yeah.
I think this also has another one right here. Another one right here.
Yeah.
So someone with some lapidary skills.
Right. Well, you know, and this is also from the same location, right? So when you look at this one, you can see the really like linear shape to these things, right? How this one extends. Where am I going here? This way up here, right? And smaller ones, and then some poking out. Not that you can see it that well because I haven't polished these up at all. One of the problems with the lapidary skills on this one is that unlike some rocks where the crystals really orient themselves nicely in one direction, these are all over the place. So if you try cutting this open, sometimes you actually go the wrong way and ruin things, right? But we can see that you get almost, sometimes it's described as cigar shape on these things, that they're really these long tube-shaped things. And this one I've actually, oh, this isn't fun, there, right? This one's been epoxied on there, so this is not polished, it's epoxied. How am I gonna get that way?
There you go.
Similar things here. You can really, if you find them loose like this, it's great, you know. And you could break these open, or if you had a tile saw, you could easily cut it open, and then these are just a spray lacquer, right, on it to get that nice shape. And different colors. You can see this one here, it's kind of a reverse shape. Instead of being a cross going out, it's almost like a box in the center. Right?
Oh, I see.
And this is also, this one actually has been polished. So you get, so this is not lacquered. And you can see what it is. Someday I'm going to do something, drill it and make a necklace out of it. I don't know. Yeah, this is local. And this is blood forest.
Flood forest, yeah.
It's a town park, right, I think?
Yeah, town of Lancaster, and you can collect there.
Yep.
You always have to be mindful when you're collecting, whether or not collecting is allowed
Right.
or not.
Right.
But there are still places that
Yes.
you can
Collect. Yeah.
collect at.
Yeah.
And,
Fewer than they used to be because a lot of places have closed because of legal issues, right?
Yeah,
so you do
that's
need
right.
need to check. And in some places, like when we went out to the Chester Emery mine, we had to get permission from the state to do that, which they grant, but you just need to get the permission.
Yeah.
But you can also find things just by looking around.
Yeah.
And
I mean, most of these minerals here are from
they're local things, a lot of them.
this area. Take a look at that microcline, the
This one here.
feldspar.
Oh, Moat. Where's that? Oh, it's Moat Mountain.
Yeah, that's Moat Mountain, New Hampshire, right where this was found.
Yeah.
Okay, that's where the smoky quartz was found, but also microcline, which is a form of feldspar.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And they have some really beautiful crystals of it that you can see right here. Yeah.
So
really
this is really great. You have the crystal of feldspar, but you also have a smoky.
And it's a beautiful little smoky quartz crystal.
Yeah.
Look at, I mean, there's the hexagonal shape and that pencil point, and
There's some more.
yeah, if people want to collect, or if they're interested, in finding minerals, the suggestion would be go online and just type in, mineral collecting in like Arkansas or New Hampshire. A number of sites will come up. There's a really good website, Mindat.
Yes, that's excellent.
.com? Is it .com?
I think it's .org.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
but
it
if you do
Yeah.
a search
And-
for Mindat.
Right, and one of the good things with that site is it gives you pictures of the location, gives you maps. It also tells you what minerals you're likely to find,
Right.
which is really helpful. Right? And if you're going to a site that is a pegmatite, right, I would not go there looking for something like rhodochrosite, which is a beautiful pink mineral, but probably not going to find it in that.
Yeah.
Right? And
When you go to that Mindat website, because I've been doing a little research in this area about lime quarrying that was done,
Yep.
there's quite an extensive list of minerals
right.
associated with
Yeah.
any site.
Yeah, and some of them are like one person found this one microcrystal of this mineral at that site. So one of the things I tend to look for is which of those minerals have pictures from that actual site.
Yes.
Because it will show pictures of, smoky quartz.
Yep.
But are they showing pictures of smoky quartz from that site?
Yeah.
Because that usually indicates there's more than a little piece of it there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, when I found, I mentioned to you before we went on that I was doing some research about a lime quarry, alleged lime quarry on some conservation land that was just acquired by Littleton
Yep.
over at the Smith property. And I didn't see much there, but I wasn't sure what I was looking at. So I ventured up to known lime quarries that were ones in Chelmsford,
Yeah.
right
Right.
on 110,
Yeah.
which I looked at Mindat,
Yes.
And when I looked at Mindat, all these other lime quarries popped up that were in Stowe and Boxborough, and there's a great one in Bolton. So I
Right.
toured the one in Bolton and Chelmsford to see how the minerals and rocks present themselves.
Right.
And went back to the Smith property and said, oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's a
here it is.
same assemblage. Yes.
Same
Yeah.
assemblage. Yeah, exactly.
And don't they all, going back to the previous episode with plate tectonics, aren't those all pretty much in a line going
They are.
Northeast to southwest.
Northeast to southwest,
Yeah.
indicating the continents
Yes.
coming together.
Because it's
Yeah.
fascinating if you look at a geologic map
Yes.
of Massachusetts, because you very clearly see that trending thing.
Yeah.
So if you were a geologist, whether you're looking for your lime quarries or if you're looking for specific gold or silver or
Yes.
whatever, they're looking for those trends in similar assemblages. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
The other thing with MnDAT is that when you read the description of the minerals, they actually sometimes will tell you a little bit of, where there's a lot of it or if it's just
Yeah, I found
a
they
bit.
gave a great history.
Yeah.
I learned a lot about lime quarrying, small-scale operations that
Right.
were done in the area. But it's incredible how large some of these operations were even 200 years
Yeah.
ago. They could move a lot with horses
They
and
did.
oxen.
They did.
It
Yeah, we've been to a couple places out in the western part of the state. One mine where they mine graphite. Okay, in the Revolutionary War times, Dixon Pencils, the people that
Yep.
started that, owned that mine at one point before they kind of petered out. And you can still pick up pieces of graphite there.
Yeah, neat.
And then we go to the Manham mine sometime up there, Loudville.
just happened to have.
There you go. And what do you got from Loudville? If you look at MnDAT or other places, it's referred to as the Manhattan Lead Mine.
Manhandle, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you tell me what's in here. This is
Oh, my God.
This is a pegmatite,
Yeah.
and I started seeing all sorts of oranges in there.
Yeah.
And I think on some other specimens I had were these little orange tabs.
Oh, the Wolfenite.
The
Did you
Wolfenite.
actually find that?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I've been there like
It's in
4
a bucket
times,
somewhere.
and I've never found Wolfenite there, and I've been trying and trying and trying. I mean, what you typically find there is galena, nice cubes of it, right? Sometimes small, sometimes a little bit
Yeah.
larger, but that's why it's the lead mine, because that's what they're looking for.
And didn't they use that to make the lead
musket balls?
musket balls, things like
Yeah,
that?
plus other things,
Other
yeah.
things.
But, yeah, you got pyromorphite in here, which is this yellowish stuff, I think, okay? I don't have my loop with me. Quartz crystals in there. And some of these places where you get these holes, I think you probably had galena in there that weathered out, yeah. A nice little cubey place there. But anyways, yeah, a loop, whether it's something like this or smaller, is really good when you're going out and collecting.
Gotta have it.
Gotta have it.
Yeah.
All right, no matter, my eyes are getting a little older, but even if you have young eyes, they can be pretty small. There are people that's what they collect, are the microcrystals.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which have a benefit in terms of they're easier to store.
They're not as
They're
heavy.
easier to move.
They don't take up as much space, yeah.
These loops tend to be 10 power, I think.
10 power, you should. I mean, you can get
Yeah.
loops with a lower magnification, but really 10 power is probably where you want to go, yeah.
I've been using some magnification now that I bought these gizmos that you can plug into the computer and magnify,
yeah.
and it displays on the screen.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's
I
kind of
haven't tried
interesting.
that, yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's, one of the things when you're going out collecting, there are people that go out with very few tools, and they're just looking around and picking off the ground. There are people that go out there with massive, that little hammer you had before,
Yeah.
the sledge, that's tiny. There are people that go out there with full, huge sledges or bigger power tools in some cases.
I've seen that. I've seen people doing gold.
Yeah, gold panning.
Yeah, with their, they bring their sluice
Oh, yeah,
with them, and
so you can get into a whole range, but the one thing you shouldn't be going out and doing it by yourself. You should have someone with you, in my mind, at least, because if you're out in the woods, and sometimes quite far out in the woods,
it can be.
it can be really not safe, right? And a lot of warnings from mineral societies about ticks now, right?
Yes.
So just as like if you're out in your own woods, you need to be a little bit careful with things. And with us, since we're not doing microcrystals, right? If you're collecting, you're going to lug it out, right? So
that is a problem.
We usually have a bucket with us, and it can get pretty heavy lugging a bucket of rocks 3-4 miles out of a trail if you're way out in the woods.
It sure can. It sure can.
And nothing's more frustrating than when you get home and say, why did I bother taking this piece?
Yeah, now what am I going to do with this? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You know, we're fortunate around here because we really do actually have a good range of minerals. I'm looking at some of the things that you have here. You know, this piece of bowenite.
Yes, you're right.
From Rhode Island, which is
a
state mineral.
It is of Rhode Island.
Of Rhode Island, yeah. And we looked at the quartz from Conway. This is a piece from the Dana Morse collection, who is a former member of ours.
Yep, these are all from Dana Morse.
Yep. You know, lovely piece of sphene, right, from Northborough, right? Beautiful crystal. One of my favorite minerals, I think because the color's pretty, but I just like the name, lepidolite.
Lepidolite,
which is a quartz, mica actually, right? With a really pretty purple, and that's from West Paris, Maine. Actually, Maine has great minerals.
It does.
Yeah, great minerals collecting up there.
Beautiful tourmalines.
Yeah, and you know, we really don't associate New England, particularly Massachusetts, I think, with collecting minerals like you do out west, right? But there are places, you know.
I remember these pyrites. I got these from one of a former member, Florian. That was the fellow's name.
Yeah.
These were from, what's the lake up in New Hampshire? Not Winnipesaukee, it's on the other side of the road.
Wentworth, Lake Wentworth?
Yeah, it's over in that area. But these beautiful pyrite crystals, I mean, look at that.
I mean, if you go to a show, you can buy pyrite crystals like this, really perfect. They're usually from Spain. There's some formation there that they're just all through it, right? This is really lovely. That's a good sized crystal, yeah. So when you look at someone who does mineral collecting, typically they're walking around like this, with their eyes to the ground, right, and looking. I don't know how you do it because you also do birds. And if you're going with someone who's birding, they're always up like this.
Yeah, I'm distracted by birds, but I'm also, like we said before, I'm more of a rock head, so I'm looking at these large rock outcrops and structures and wondering, you know, how did they get in place and things like that. So that's where my interest is. I mean, in the Mineral Club, I've picked up so much information that people, from folks in our club that really get down to the mineral level.
Right. But even these tell you something. I mean, this is, you're going to find pyrite crystals like this usually in some metamorphic rock. Yeah. Right. A lot of times, at least. Right. And so here we have a nice piece of, looks like it's slatey type thing. You know, you have some pyrite from, oh gosh, this is heavy. Yeah, that is. So this is, this is from Colorado, right? And this whole thing is pyrite, right? More commonly referred to as fool's gold. And one of the reasons for that not only is the color, but what I just did when I picked it up and going, oh, that's heavy, right? Obviously, gold is very dense. A piece of gold that size would be way more heavy even than that, but it's enough to say, oh, that's something different. And you see here the beautiful square cubic crystals. The cubic system. That's right. Right, and even though this one from here is not quite cubic, you can see in cross section, it's a nice cube. It's just elongated. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is from New Hampshire, and this is from Colorado.
And you would not find gold
Mm-hmm.
having those beautiful little cubes, right? They'd be that colorish, they'd be dense, but you don't typically find it in cubes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, there are the physical tests that you can do,
Mm-hmm.
right? Hardness, crystal shape.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it's just knowing associations.
Yeah. I think what we're going to do is we're going to stop right here. I'm going to try to influence you to stay for one more show.
God, what are we going to talk about there?
Captive audience. And we're going to talk a little bit about how different attributes of perhaps things like fluorescence, things like that can help you identify.
We can see where it goes.
Yeah, and we'll see where it goes. So that's our second show on minerals. We hope that you've enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time on Littleton Rocks.